Hello and welcome back to the channel, and in this video we are going to make a simple CRUD application using Node.js, ExpressJs and MongoDB. And as you can see here, we have a simple web page where you post your blogs, and in that blog we specify a title and the description, and then we specify whether we want it to be published or not, and then we submit. So this is the schema of our blog. And after creating the blog, we are going to display that over here. Here we have published section and the all tutorial section. In this section we only display those blogs who are specified as published, and in this we display all of them. So as you can see here, we have some published as well. So this section shows all the blog posts and this section shows only published one. And now let's do some CRUD operations on this website. So first I'm going to create a blog post. So in title I'm going to write hi YouTube, and then I'm going to write hi, and then I'm going to specify it as a published, and then I'm going to submit it. And after submitting, you can see that our page reloads, and then you can see our new blog post here, which is published one. And in the all tutorial section you can see our blog post here as well. Now let's see, if we did not specify this particular section, where will our blog post will go. So let's see our second. So let's write our second post, and then again write second post, and then let's not check the checkbox, and then let's submit it. And as you can see, after submitting, our blog post did not display over here, and if we go here you can see our blog post is here. So since we did not specify the published or not published part, our blog post is in the all tutorial section. And now let's go, after creating and reading, let's update our blog post. So I'm going to update the first blog post I created here. So let's click on the edit, and as you can see our little window opens, and I'm going to change the title hi YouTube everyone, and then let's write some please subscribe, and now let's submit it. And as you can see, after I submitted it, our blog post changed, the title changed hi YouTube everyone, and the description also changed. And now let's edit it one more time, and here I'm going to uncheck this box and then submit it. And as you can see, our post got removed from clear. And now the last operation is the delete operation. You can just click on any of these to delete the post. So I'm deleting this one. Today is the Friday, it's got deleted and you will not find that post. And let's delete this one as well. As you can see, this got deleted as well. And let's delete from the all tutorial section. So I'm going to press on the delete button, and as you can see, now we have only 2 pages and our post got deleted. And this is how all operation will be performed. So now after that, let me show you the database also. So here is our database. Let me refresh it, and hi YouTube everyone. Let me go here and delete it, refresh it, and as you can see, our post got deleted from the database as well. And this is all the post we have right now in our database and here as well. So this is how our CRUD application will look like and perform. So now let's start making this website from scratch. And also one more thing here, that you will also learn about the pagination in this tutorial, like I have did here. As you can see, I can go to the next page to see the other tutorials. Let me make some more here. And as you can see that now I have total 5 pages in the all tutorial section and 2 pages in the publish section. And let me go to the second page. You can see that in the second page I have some articles, and on the third, fourth and fifth, and the fifth page I have articles with only title. So as you can see that I can go to the next pages and previous pages by clicking on these buttons, and current page and total page also got displayed here. So this is the pagination, and in this tutorial we are also going to learn how to do that. So now let's start making our CRUD application. So the process of this tutorial will be like this. First we are going to work on the backend, then we are going to test our backend with Postman, and then we are going to make the frontend, and then we are going to connect both frontend and backend. So this will be our project sequence, and in that form we are going to proceed. So right now I have an empty folder with name CRUD application, and from here first we are going to open our terminal, and then we are going to write a command to initialize our project. So let's just write npm init to install our package.json, and after that we are going to install some dependencies to make our CRUD application. So that will be Express, Mongoose and Codes, and these packages will be enough to make the CRUD application. And after that you can see a node module along with the packet log.json and our packet.json, and inside that you can see the dependencies here. Now after that we are going to make a file here in the root directory, which is app.js, and this file will be our main file to which all the files will be connected, and this file will be connected to our backend. So now let's import the installed packages. So first will be express is equals to write require express, and then we are going to import codes as well. So codes is equals to require codes, and then after we are going to rename our express is equals to app. So app is equals to express, and then we are going to use our codes package. So write app.use codes, and after that we usually pass some options here. So write codes options, and we will define it here, codes option, and inside that we are going to define and that will be our localhost, which is HTTP. So what it does, that it will allow only this particular server, this particular URL to be able to send the data to the backend. So after setting up the codes, we are going to write app.use express.json. So what this does is that this allows you to pass the data in a JSON format inside the backend. And after that we are going to write app.use and then express.url encoded extended true. And after that we are going to define a simple route for our server. So write app.get, and inside that the path will be a slash, and then we'll write request and response, and in this function we are just going to pass the JSON, which is message, and in this message we'll write welcome to the CRUD tutorial. And after that we are going to listen to our server. So write app.listen, and then we are going to provide the port on which port this server is going to start, and then we are going to write a callback function. Inside that we are just going to console log a message that server is running. And then just export the module. So module.exports is equals to f. And now let's go to the packet.json inside that, and inside that write start and then write node app.js and then write a comma, and then save it and go to your terminal and write node app.js to start our server. Let's write at 3000. So now our server is running. Let's go to the Chrome and start our server. So write in localhost 3000 and you can see a message called welcome to the CRUD tutorial. So now that we have started our server, our next step is to connect this server to the database. So for that, let's make a folder here called config, and inside that we are going to make a file called db.config.js, and inside that we are going to export a module. In this we are going to export a URL which will be our database URL. So let's go and get our database URL, and if you go to the MongoDB, at least you will get this kind of setup, and we just need to connect our server to this MongoDB. So after clicking on the connect, click on the MongoDB for VS Code and copy this code and then paste it here. Then after that define the collection. I'm going to define it as YouTube CRUD, and then you have to write your username and password here. And after writing your username and password, you can go in the root directory and make another folder which is models, and inside that make a file called index.js. So inside this file we are going to import our db config, so that db config is equals to require, and then we'll give the path to that particular model or file, so that config and then db config, and then we are going to import our Mongoose. And then we are going to write mongoose.promise is equals to global promise, and then define db is equals to empty object, and then db.mongoose is equals to mongoose, and db.url is equals to dbconfig.url, and we just export this module, so that module.export is equals to db, and also that db.tutorials is equals to require, and this will be from tutorial model, and then we'll pass mongoose here. And after adding this, let's import it to the app.js. So go to app.js and then import it here. So const db is equals to require and give the path which is models and then index db.mongoose.connect, and inside this we are going to provide the URL which is db.url. Along with that we are also going to provide use new URL parser to true, and then use unified topology to true. After that, write dot then, and this will be a callback function that will write console.log, and in this we are going to write connected to MongoDB. And after that, write catch error, and then we are going to console the error, console.log. Cannot connected to database, and then we are going to print our error as well. And after that, we are going to exit from the process, to write process exit. And now go to the terminal and stop the server and write again node.app.js and start the server. And as you can see here, connected to MongoDB has been printed, which means our server is connected to the MongoDB database. And now with that, the thing that is left to do is to make the schema for our data. So let me first close this and go to the model and make another file, which is tutorial.models.js, and then we are going to write model.exports is equals to Mongo's, and then we will define our function. Inside the function, we are going to define a constant schema is equals to mongoose.schema, and the schema will be title, which will be a type of string, and then description, which will be a type of string as well, and then published, which will be a type of boolean. Now outside this object, we are going to have one more object, and this will be our timestamp. So timestamp is true, and then outside this function, we are going to define a method here. So that is schema.method, and inside that the method name will be toJSON, and then we will define a callback function, and inside that function we will define a object, and inside that we will have __ v, then _id, and then we will spread our object. And now this will be equals to this dot object, and object dot id will be equals to _id, and then we will return our object. Now reassign the schema to name tutorial is equals to mongoose dot model, and this will be tutorial, and we will pass the schema here. Now we don't need mongoose, and then we are going to return our tutorial. And then let's open our terminal and close the server and start our server again. After doing this, our schema will be implemented through the MongoDB. And now let's define our controllers here. So go to the root and create a folder here named controllers, and inside that create a file named tutorial.controller.js. and now inside this, let's import our db is equals to require from models/index, and now write const tutorial, and here write tutorials. And after that, the first function that we are going to create is the create function. So let's give a comment here, create, and save new post, and below that write exports dot create, and then we will have our request and response, and then we'll define our function. Inside that, first we will validate the request. So if request body dot title is not present, then we will send our response status to 400, and then we will send a message which will be content cannot be empty, and then we will return it. And if everything is fine, then we will create a tutorial is equals to new tutorial, and inside that we'll write title will be equal to request, and then description will be request dot body dot description, and then published will be request dot body dot published. So here we are going to write the ternary operator. So first, if the requested body has published in it, then we are just going to use that value, otherwise we are going to make published equals to false. And after creating the tutorial, let's save it into the database. So here we are saving the tutorial to database. So write tutorial dot save, and then we are passing tutorial here, and then we are going to write dot then, and in this we are going to pass our data, respond with our data, and then we write our catch. So inside catch, if we got any error, then we will send our response status to 500, and then we will send a message. Inside the message, we will write our error dot message, or we will write some. So this is the function for creating our post, and let me close this. So this will create a post in our database based on our requested URL. And now let's write the function for other operations as well. So next operation is retrieving all data at once. So retrieving, and then we will write exports dot find all, and then we will have our request and response. Inside that function we'll define we define a variable condition that will check title. Now with title, in this case we are going to use regex. So title regex new, add the options which will be I, and then outside this object we will have empty object. Now what this line does is tell us about the title, whether it has a truthy value or a falsy value. Based on that condition, the database sends the data. And then below that we'll have our tutorial dot find, and inside that we'll write our condition. We will just send our data. So data res.send data. Otherwise we'll catch our error here. So just copy this and paste it. So this will be a function of retrieving all the data from the database. And now let's find a single data from the database using its ID. So find a single data. Here we'll define exports.find one, and then we will give our request and response. Then inside the function we'll have the ID of the data which we will get from the requested URL. So write request.params.id, and now write tutorial.find by ID, and inside that we'll pass the ID, and then we will send our data. If data is not present, then we will send res.status 404, and then send a message. Inside that we will have not found the tutorial, and if we find, which is else, so we will just send the data. Now after that we are going to catch our error. So that catch error, and if we got an error we'll send the status of 500 and then send a message. Now let's define the function for updating our database. So update the database. So write exports dot update, and as usual we are going to have our request and then inside the function, if we are going to check a condition here, if requested body exists or not. If it exists, then we will return. If it does not exist, then we are going to return a status called 400, and then we'll send a message saying data to update cannot be empty. And if requested URL has a body, then we are going to define its ID is equals to, then we are going to take its ID from requested body.id, requested params.id, and using this ID we are going to use tutorial dot find by ID and update. Here we are going to pass ID and then requested body, and then and one more thing, that is use find and modify will be false. Outside this function we are going to write our then with data, and if data is present, so if data is present, then we are going to send a response of status 404, then send a message cannot update the data. And now if we do find our data, then we are going to write else, and inside that we are going to send the message that data was updated successfully, and then we are going to catch any error if happens, so error, and here we are going to write rest.status 500 and send the message of error updating the data, and also ID. And now let's write a function for deleting a data. So deleting a data by ID, so that exports dot delete, and we will have request response, and then first we will require its ID, which we will get from request.params.id, and then we are going to update the tutorial by writing tutorial.find by ID and delete and remove, and then we are going to pass the ID, and then we are going to check then by passing data if data present or not. If it does not present, then we are going to respond with a status of 404. Otherwise we are going to send a message saying cannot delete data with ID, and then pass the data. And if you did find the data, then we are going to write else and rest.send message. Inside the message we will write tutorial deleted successfully, and after that I'm just going to catch the error. So if error is found, then I'm going to send the status 500 and this message. Now let's create another function to delete all data at once, and below that write exports dot delete all, and then write request response, and then write tutorial dot delete many, and inside that we are just passing an empty object, and then data rest.send a message will be data.delete count, and after that we are going to catch an error if there is. So write catch error s.status 500, then send, and then inside that we are going to pass message, which will be error.message some error occurred while deleting the data. And then lastly we are going to retrieve the published data or tutorials. So find all published tutorials and write exports dot find published, and then we are going to have our request and response, and then we are going to write tutorial dot find all dot find, and inside that I'm going to write published true, and then sort created at -1. So what it does, it gives the data in the reverse order. So in this way you will get the latest data on your display. And after that at then, and inside this curly braces we are going to write rest.send data, and outside this we are going to catch error and then we are going to, I'm just going to copy this from here and paste here. While retrieving published data, and this is all the function that we have to write in order to make the CRUD application. So the first function is to create our data, second is to find all data, third is to find data by its ID, fourth is to update the data, fifth is to delete the data by its ID, sixth one is the deleting all data, and lastly we have published data, in which we will send all the published data. And now that we have created our controllers, let's define some routes here. So for that, go to the root directory and create a folder called routes, and inside that create a file called tutorial.routes.js, and inside that we are going to write module.exports is equals to app, and then define a function. Inside that function we are going to have a variable called router, and for that we require our router from Express. So write require router, and now that tutorials require then controller, then tutorial controller. Now let's define the routes. So first we'll be creating our tutorial, so creating new tutorial or data. So write router dot get dot get, and the path will be a slash, and will give tutorials dot create. So this function will be activated if we give data to this path, and after we are going to retrieve the data. So that router dot get, and the URL and the endpoint will be the same, and tutorials dot find all. Now retrieve data by ID, and in this case we are going to write router dot get, and we'll give slash colon ID, and then we are going to write tutorials dot find this should be dot, yeah. And now let's make to retrieve all the published data. So that router dot get, and this will be slash published, and we'll have and we'll call the function tutorial dot find all published, and then we are going to have our update function. So at update the data, and for that we are going to have router dot put, and inside that the endpoint will be slash and colon ID, and caller function will be tutorials dot update, and then we are going to delete the data, and then we are going to have router dot, actually this should be post, so that router dot delete, and in this we are going to pass the endpoint which is slash colon ID, and we are going to pass the callback function tutorials dot delete, and then we are going to pass, and then we are going to define the route for delete all, so that router dot delete, and this we are going to just pass slash and then call the function tutorials dot delete all, and after that we are going to app.use to define our API endpoints, which is slash API slash tutorial, and then we are going to use our router. So this will be our API endpoint. So at this API endpoint we are going to send the data and retrieve the data. Import this route to the app.js. So go to the app.js, and just above this app.listen we are going to write require, and inside that we are going to define our routes and tutorial routes, and then we are going to pass app. And now let's open our terminal, and then let's close the server and start it again. Now our server is connected to the database, and now let's check our backend using the Postman. But before, as you can see here, now we have a YouTube CRUD collection in our database. So our database is ready, and then we have a tutorial. So now let's go to the Postman and test our backend. So right now I'm in my Postman desktop. You can also use web version. So go to your my workplace and create a new collection and give a name called YouTube CRUD. And now click on these three dots and then add a request, and then we'll change this to post, and then we will provide the server URL and the API endpoint. So this will be our server URL, and then we will specify our API endpoint. So this will be the whole URL, and after that go to your body, then raw, and then select JSON, and then inside this box write our data. So first we are going to have the title, and this title will have hello world. Then in the next line we're going to have our description, and after that just click on the send button and check if it's working or not. And you can see we got an error here that this dot object is not a function. So let's go and fix that. So in the tutorial.model.js, this dot object should be to and capital O object. And now if I save it and let's start our server again. So close it first and then restart again, and let's go and try to send our data again. So if I send again, and as you can see our data is printed here and we got the status of 200. Okay, so that means we were able to create our post. Now let's go to the database and check if it's there or not. So I'm going to open my database and let me refresh it, and as you can see I have hello world. I think I have sent it 5 times. So let me delete all of them. And now let's go back again and create one more post here. So write hello world, subscribe, and let's add subscribe here as well. So subscribe, and then let's send it to the database. And as you can see hello world subscribed, status 200. And now let's go into the database and refresh it again. And we got our data here, which is hello world subscribe. Similarly, let's create some more data so that we can play around with them and test our other operations. So let's write and let's go and check our whole data. And now you can see that we got 5 datas here that I sent. And after that let's do some more CRUD operations. So second will be our get by ID. Our next operation will be getting the data from its ID. So make one more request here and write get data by ID, and then it will be a get request. And after this we are going to pass our ID here. So for the ID let's copy this ID and paste here. And now if I send this, now you can see that our post got printed here. That means we successfully fetch our data from its ID. So this will be our second operation. Let's save it and close it and save it. And now our third operation will be getting all the data. So create one more request here. So and this will be the get request, and I can get all data, and then we are going to specify our URL, which will be this, and just send it. I think we got an error here. Find all CRUD application, this is not defined, so let's handle that. So find all, and here so the error is that we did not define this title here. So write const title is equals to request dot query dot title, and now let's save and close our server and run it again, and run the server again. Now let's go here and try this operation again. So let's send this again, and as you can see here that status is 200 and we got our all data here. And now let's check our another operation, which is getting all the published data. So create one more request here, which is a get request, and write get all published data, and here we are going to specify our URL. After tutorial we are going to write published, and let's send it. So the problem was that this route is conflicting with these routes, so to resolve that we have to write this sum of all of them, and in that way the error will be resolved. So now let's open our terminal and start the server again. And now let's go to the postman, and as you can see I have already got the output, but let me show you again. So if I click on them, send, you can see that I got all the published is equals to true of data. Add a request here and write update. Now inside the update we are going to change this to put, and then we are going to write our API here. Then we are going to specify our URL here. So write this and then slash, and then let's choose one of the ID from here. So and then go here and paste here. Now in the raw change this to JSON. Now here let's write, I'm just going to copy from here as well. So write these three, so copy these three and then go here and paste here. Now I'm going to send, and now I'm going to change something like world economy is doomed, and what to do. Now I'm going to send it to the backend. Now click on the, and as you can see we got a message that data was updated successfully. And now let's go and check in our MongoDB database. So open this and let's refresh me, and as you can see that here we have updated our data that world economy is doomed, world economy is slowing down, and what to do. And with that our update operation is also working fine. And now let's create one more request here, and this will be a delete request. So at delete, and it will be delete, and we will specify route here. So I'm just going to again copy from here. So I'm deleting the same data here. Copy this and then go here and paste it and just send it. And as you can see that we got a message that data was deleted successfully with 200 status code. And let me refresh it, and as you can see that we now only have 4 datas and we don't have the world economy data. And now let's add one more request here, which will be our search request. Now inside this, specify URL and then write like title is equals to world. Now if I click and if I send it, we got an data from our database which has world in it. And now if I change this to, so our searching is also working fine. And then lastly we are going to check our all delete operation, but before that we are going to work on the pagination. That right now you can see that our all data is like this coming at once, but we don't want that. We are going to use the server side pagination to load some of the data at a time. Now for the pagination we require 2 more modules here. So go to a terminal and then write npm I mongoose paginate -v2 and then body parser. And after installing these 2 packages, close your terminal and then go to your tutorial.model.js, and here alongside with mongoose write mongoose paginate, and below this write schema.plugin, and inside that we are going to pass mongoose paginate. Then we are going to save it and go to the index.js, and inside that import the module. So write const mongoose paginate is equals to require mongoose paginate v2, and then here alongside with mongoose write mongoose paginate. And now go to your controller.js, and here we are going to update some functions. So the functions we are going to update is retrieving all data and the published data. So first we are going to define pagination. So defining pagination, then let's write get pagination function, and this will take 2 parameters, which is page and size, and after that inside this function we are going to write limit is equals to size plus size, otherwise 3, and then const offset will be is equals to page question mark page into limit, otherwise it will be 0. And then we are going to return our function with our object, and inside that we are going to return our limit and offset. So here we are going to use this function for our pagination. And now defining this function we are going below, and here inside this function we are going to write const page size and title is equals to direct.query, and then we are going to remove this one. And after this let's calculate our limit and offset. So write limit and then offset, and this will be equals to get pagination function, and inside that we are going to pass the page and size, and then we are going to replace the find with paginate, and inside the conditions we are also going to pass our offset, limit and offset, and offset. And now instead of passing just data, we are going to pass an object, and inside that we are going to have total item. This will be equals to data dot total docs, and then we are going to have tutorials, and this will be equals to data dot docs, and after that we are going to have total page, and this will be equals to data dot total pages, and after that we are going to have a current page, and this will be equals to data dot page -1, and then this is all we have to do for the pagination in this function. Now let's go to find publish function, and here as well write take page and size from request, and from request.query, and then we are going to calculate our offset and limit. So write limit and offset is equals to get pagination, and inside that we are going to pass the page and size, and then we are going to replace the find with paginate, and then we are going to specify a sort. Inside that we write created at colon -1, and outside this we are going to pass limit and offset, and then again here are going to send a object, and inside the object we are going to pass the same thing that we are passing here. So copy this and paste here, and now with that our pagination is ready. So let's open our terminal, and let's close the server and start it again, and then go to your Postman and get all data. Now you can see that we have 5 datas here, and if I send it, now you can see the total items is 4, and 1 2 3. We got 3 datas on our first page number 0, and total page is 2, and we are getting 3 outputs. Now if I specify here page is equals to 1, then we'll get only 1 data, because there is total 4 datas and 3 of them are on the first page and others are on the second page. So here you can see that the current page is 1 but total page is 2. This is because that the page number is from 0 to 1 and we have total 2 pages which is 0 and 1, so don't confuse with that. Okay, let's go to the publish section and let's send it, and as you can see we have total 2 items that is published, so total page is 1 and current page is 0. So now with that our pagination is ready and our backend is also ready. And now let's combine our backend with our frontend so that we can do this type of CRUD application on our web page. So for that, now to make our frontend we are going to need 3 more files. So go to your root directory and make a file here which is index.html, and then we are going to make a style.css file, and then we are going to also have a script.js. Inside the index.html we are going to use our boilerplate and then connect our style css, and then rename our app to CRUD application YouTube, and then let's use our script here. So write script.js, and inside the style.css I'm going to paste all my styles that we are going to use in this tutorial. So this is all the styles that we are going to use for our app. So let's save it, and inside the index.html we are going to make some forms. First we are going to use this form to create our data, and then we are going to use this form to update our data, and inside these divs we are going to display our data, and then we are going to add one more script here which will be used for the styling. So this has nothing to do with the fetching data. So the work of this JavaScript is to make our text area responsive like this. So if I write this and enter, the text area height will be get increased. So to make this responsive I use this JavaScript, and this is all we have to use for the stylings. And now let's go to the script.js and start fetching our data and then showing here. So first start our server here, go live, and as you can see that this is our CRUD, and as you can see this is our CRUD application. Right now we have our create UI, but we don't have our published and all tutorial, and we also did not yet connected this create tutorial section to the backend. So go to your script.js and start writing the code. First let me show you how can you fetch your data from your backend to your front end. So for that we are going to use fetch. So write fetch, and then we are inside this we are going to provide the URL, or you can say the API endpoint from which we are going to fetch the data. So we are going to write http://localhost 3000/API/tutorial. So if response is not okay, then we are going to throw a new error, and we will write network was not okay, and if everything is right then we are going to return our response.json, and inside that, and then we are going to catch, and then we are going to write a function on having data. If we have data then we are going to console log it, so console log data, and then we are going to, if we have any error then we are going to console.error, and then we will write error dot, and now let's save it and go to the browser and go to the inspect mode, and then in the console require is not defined. This should not be here, and as you can see that our code is not allowing this particular URL to accessing the data. So for that we are going to copy this and then go back to the server we are going to update the core options. So we are going to use now this core options. Here we have whitelist, where we allow which particular URL will be able to access our data. So in this place we are going to provide our URL. Copy this and paste it here, and then save it, and then again start our server. So close and start the server, and now let me refresh it, and as you can see, after refreshing, our data got printed here. So right now we are at the current page of 0, total items is 4, total page is 2, and we are getting 3 datas here, 0, 1, 2, and these are all the properties. So now we have successfully fetched the data, and now we are going to use this data to make our CRUD application. So go to the script.js. Let me first close it, and then we are going to first write our create function. So create a post. So we are going to form for creating our post. So write form, and then we are going to get this form from our HTML. For that, write document dot get element by id, and inside that write your id, which is tutorial form, and now add an event listener here. So write form dot add event listener, which will be type of submit, and then we are going to pass a callback function, which is post data, and now we are going to define our post data function here. So async function post data, here we will pass event, and then we are going to write event dot prevent default, so it will prevent the default submissions. And after that we are going to assign a form is equals to event dot target, and then we are going to define our form data is equals to new form data, and inside that we are going to pass our form. Now let's make a variable for our API endpoint. So let me copy this from here and copy and paste it here. After that we are going to change our form data to a JSON data, since we are only accepting the JSON data. So that const data is equals to title will be form data dot get title, and then description form data dot get, inside that description, and then published, and then write form data dot get published if it is equals to true, and then we are going to write our try and catch block. So inside our try we are going to write response, and it will be a sync function. So we are going to write await, and this will fetch, and then we are going to use fetch, and inside that we are going to provide the URL and then a callback function, and this function will be a type of method post, and then we are going to specify headers, and this header will be type of, and this header will be content type of application/JSON, and then we are going to have a body. So like JSON dot stringify, and then data. And now outside this function, if the response is not okay, then we are going to throw a new error. So throw a new error, failed to post data. And if everything is right, then we are going to reassign our response data to a new variable. Response data is equals to await response.json. and if everything is okay, then we are just going to console log the data. So for that, let's reassign the data. So response data will be equals to response will be equals to await response.json, and then we are going to console log this data. So console log response data, and if we do find any error, so that catch, then we are going to console log error. And now let's save it, and go to our web page and refresh it. And now let's try to make a post here. So I'm going to write my new post from, and here I'm going to write my new post from web page, and I'm going to publish it. So click on that and then submit. And as you can see that our data got printed here, that means we successfully create our data in our database. So let's go and check. So let's refresh it, and if you go down, you can see that my new post is here, my new post from web page. So we have successfully created our data from our web page. So our create post function is working fine. And now we are going to retrieve all the data to display over here in the published and all tutorial section. So for that, which will be to retrieve all data. Now to retrieve all the data and for the pagination, we are going to define some variables here. So first will be our current page, and then second will be our total page, and then we are going to call our function here, fetch data, and then we are going to define that function here. So that function fetch data, and let's give page is equals to 0, and then we are going to define the function. Inside the function, we are going to write fetch, and then we will provide the URL. So our URL will be dynamic, where you can change the page number, and based on that we get our different data from the database. And then we are going to write our response. So response, and based on this response we are going to check if response is okay or not. So that response is okay. If not okay, then we are going to throw a new error, fail to get the data. And if everything is right, then we are going to return response.json. And after this we are going to write .then. Inside that we are going to have our data, and then we are going to console log the data, console.log data. And now let's define our current page. So current page is equals to data.current page, and total page will be equals to data.total page. And below that we are going to call our two functions. First is display tutorials, in which we are going to provide data.tutorials, and below that we are going to call one more function which is display pagination. Inside that we are not going to pass anything. Now that we are going to catch error, so catch error not, and based on that we are going to console.error and then the error message. Now let's define these two functions here. So below that write function display tutorials, and inside that we are going to have tutorials, and here we are going to have our element from the HTML which is tutorial list. So that const tutorial list, and this will be equals to document dot get element by id, and in this we pass our id which is tutorial list. Now below that we are going to empty everything inside the tutorial list. So inner.html is equals to empty string, and now for each tutorial we are going to loop all them and make some elements here. So that tutorials dot for each, and inside that we are going to write tutorial, and then we are going to define the function that const tutorial item is equals to document.create element div, and then we are going to give a class to this element. So that tutorial item dot class list dot add, and its class will be tutorial item, and then we are going to set an attribute. So that tutorial item dot set attribute is, and inside that we are going to have our set attribute data id, and it will be equal to tutorial.id. And now inside this state we are going to create some more elements here. So the next element will be const title element, and then we are going to write document dot create element, and it will be have s2 tag, and then we are going to write title element dot text content is equals to tutorial dot title. Similarly we are going to make some more elements here. So now we have a p tag which will display our descriptions, then we have another p tag which will display our published or not published part, and then we have a button for deleting, and then we have button for editing. And after that we are going to append all these elements which is s2 p button inside this div. So for that write tutorial item dot append child, and then the child will be title element. Similarly tutorial item dot append child, and next will be description element. Similarly we append all of them here, and now if I save and go here, check, we get an error that localhost 3000 API published web 0 connection refused. The thing is that this should be 3000, and now if I save it and go here, you can see that our posts are listed here. So like we have our title, paragraph, and then published, and then we have two buttons which right now does not do anything, but we have our post here, my new post, Australia, hi YouTube. And now let's work on the pagination here. So here define our function which is pagination. So write function display pagination, inside that we don't have to pass anything. And now let's get our pagination element which is pagination is equals to document dot get element by id, which is pagination. And now write pagination dot inner html empty string. And now let's make some elements here. For that I'm just going to paste it here. So these are all the elements that we are going to create here. So first one will show a current page, and then we show the total page, and after that we are going to make buttons. Inside that, let page is equals to 0 and page is less than total page, and then page plus plus. And then inside this for loop we are going to write const page button is equals to document dot create element which will be a button. And now write page button dot text content is equals to page plus 1. And then we are going to apply some event listeners on the page button, so that page button dot add event listeners, and it will be a type of click. And then we'll pass a callback function. So the function will call the fetch data function, and inside that we'll pass the page value. And outside this event listener we are going to append this page button inside the pagination div. So that pagination dot append child, then page button. And now if I save it and go here, you can see that currently we have total page of 1. Let me create some more post here. So now you can see that now we have 2 pages. Right now we are on the page number 1, and this is the page number 2. Let me create one more post and submit it. And one more thing to add here, so after creating post I'm going to reload the page. So that location dot reload, then save it and go here. So let's create a post here. Write enter title, then description, that's all. And now if I now check this box, and if I submit it, the page reloads, and then we get our post here. So now we have created the function to retrieve all the published data. Let's create a function to retrieve all the data that contains published and not published. So below that, let's create a function which will retrieve all data. So just like the previous function, we are going to write a function here, fetch all data, and then we are going to call it here, and then we are going to define function here. So fetch all data, and then page is equals to 0. And now the procedure will be same. Let me just copy this from here and then paste here. The only thing that is different here is this, we have to remove this part. Also change the function name, so this will be all and this will be all. And then let's define these 2 functions here. So for that, copy these 2 functions from above and paste here. Now in these 2 functions, change the function name and this as well, and below that change the function name and this as well. And now if we save it and go here, you can see that now we have our all tutorial section and publish section both. But as you can see, this button is connected to this button. We have to fix that error. So go here and change the function name here as well. So fetch all data, and then we are going to save it and go here. And now if I click on these buttons, you can see only the tutorial section is changing, and if I click on this button, you can see this part is only changing. So now we have displayed our published and all tutorial section. So we have completed our create part and then the read part. Now we have to work on the update and the delete part. So go here and make a new function here, which will be update data by its ID. But before that, let's go above and remove this part. And now let me show you this page. If I click on this, this little window shows up. As you can see, there is no window, so let me show where it is. So go to the style.css. Now I have write the display is equals to none, but I am going to write it as a flex, and if I save it, you can see that little window here. But this window is only going to show up when I click on this button. So for now, I'm going to change it to none, then close this. So to update our data, we are going to write two functions here. So first function will be populate, and it will take tutorial ID. Now what this function does is, this function takes this data here and put it here, and then you edit over that data. So for that, we are going to write const form is equals to document dot get element by id, and then we are going to specify our id, which is update tutorial form. Similarly, we are going to have some more elements here. So these are all the elements that we are getting from the index.html. And now let's fetch the data. So fetch the tutorial data on the tutorial ID. So that fetch, and inside that provide the link, which will be in change page to tutorial ID, and remove this page and put a slash here. And then we are going to write our then response, and if response is not okay, then we are going to throw a new error. Let's just copy from here these two, and then we are going to use our data, and using that data we are going to write title input dot value is equals to data dot title. In the title input element, we are assigning that value is equals to data title value. Similarly, we are going to write description text area dot value is equals to data dot description, and then we are going to write published checkbox dot value dot checked is equals to data dot published, and then we are going to catch if any error happens. So this we are going to copy from here, and then we are going to have our update form. So that update form, then we will write document dot get element by id, then we are going to add a event listener here, which will be type of submit, and then we are going to pass a callback function which is update data. And now let's define this function. So let us sync function update data and then pass event here. Now inside the function write event default, and then we are going to write const tutorial id is equals to event.target.get attribute, and this will be data dash id. And now write const form is equals to document dot get element by id, and we are just going to paste this here. And then we are going to write our form data is equals to title, and this will be equal to form dot elements update title dot value. So this title will take the value from update title element which we have defined here, and then similarly we can write this, and we can also write this. And then outside this form data we are going to have our URL here, and then write catch and try block. Inside the catch write const response is equals to await fetch, then provide the URL and then a callback function. So inside that we are going to have method put. Let me go above and copy this part and paste it here and change this to put. And after that we are going to reset our form, so that form dot reset, and then we are going to call our function fetch data to the current page, and then we are going to reload the page, location dot reload function, and then we are going to catch error. So catch if any error is here. So now let's save it. So for that let's go above, and inside the display published section let's write some code here. So we are going to write edit element dot add event listener, and it will be type of click, and then we will give a callback function. Inside the function we are going to have our tutorial id, and this will be equals to tutorial item dot get attribute data id, and then we are going to call our populate form. Inside that we are going to pass this id, and then we are going to call update form dot set attribute, and then this will be equals to data id and tutorial id. Let's make our form visible. Make form visible, because right now it is hidden. So write const form element is equals to document dot get element by id, and inside that pass the id which is update tutorial form, and then form element dot style dot display is equals to flex. And now if I save and go here and let's refresh it, and if I click on the edit button, you can see it's open but our data is not here. So let me see what is the error. So we are getting an error is null. So we made a typo error here. This should be id. Here the data is not defined. We have to pass the form data here. So let's save it and go here, and now if I click on the edit, we are still getting the same error. So what is the problem here? And we have one more typo error here. So write form. Now if I save it and go here, and let's check it by clicking on the edit button, and you can see that our title got written over here, and then description, and then this checkbox. And now let's check if it's updating or not. So write title, then and then this, and then let's submit it. And as you can see that our form got updated, and you can see that new title is here and the new description is here. Now add this same functionality to all tutorial section. So for that we are going to copy this, and then we are going to pass here, and let's save it and go here. And if I click on this, you can see that if this is also working. Hello world, subscribe now. And if I save it, you can see that now is here. So our update function is also working, and with that our update, create and read is complete. And now we have to do is delete operation. So for that let's also make a function here. So let's go down and create a function for deleting our data, and then write a sync function delete post, and inside this we are going to pass the id, which is tutorial id, and then we are going to have our url. So url will be from here. Let me copy this and paste here. So this same URL will be used here. And now let's use our try and catch block. So in try we are going to write const response is equals to fetch URL, and then inside this we are going to have method which will be delete, and then if response is not okay, then we are going to throw a new error and fill the data delete, and then we are going to location.reload, which will reload our page. And outside this try block we are going to catch any error, so that catch error, and then we are going to console that error, console.log error, error.message. And now we have to connect this function to the delete button. So go above here, and below this we are going to add an event listener here. So that delete element dot add event listener, and this will be a type of click, and then we are going to pass a callback function here, const tutorial id will be equals to this, and then we are just going to call our delete function. So write delete post, and then we are going to pass the tutorial id in it. And let's copy this, and paste here as well. And now if I save and go here, refresh it, and if I click on the delete button, you can see the page reloads and our post got deleted. You can see that now I have total 5 published data. And now if I click on the all tutorial delete, you can see that now I have total 7 data, 1 got deleted. Let me delete one more, and now we have total 6 data. So now we have created function. So now we have created functions for all the CRUD operations, and with that our CRUD application is ready. So let me show you all the operations one more time. So first we are going to write our post. So I'm going to write subscribe now, and then like and comment, and then I'm going to publish it. And then you can see that our post got published here, and in the all tutorial section you can find it at the end here. And now let's edit it. Now let's edit and write subscribe now please, and let's try to add an emoji here. And submit, and you can see that our post got updated as well. And the last part is that we are going to delete our post. So after you subscribe to this channel, you can delete this post by clicking on the delete button. So this was the tutorial on how to make our CRUD application from scratch using Node.js, ExpressJs and MongoDB. So if you like the video, then do subscribe to my channel and also give a like to this video. Thank you.